it's not impossible. It's one of those sets that Bobby could win.
Yeah, obviously a hard matchup.
And I'll be saying Bobby for short because BBB and Bobby Big Ballz is too many syllables. It doesn't roll off the tongue like that. Battlefield, I think, is a good place to start for Falco, too. Kind of likes the platforms, and in the same way that we talked about how West Ballz liked to... That's a shame.
Unfortunate.
How West Ballz likes to zone out Puff. Something I've seen that Bobby is very good at in this matchup, in previous sets that I've watched, is using, like, rising down air to control a whole column of space in front of Puff so that Puff can't move forward.
Yeah. Reads the roll in. I mean, people say it all the time, you can't do that against HBox, right? He's ready for it.
And Bobby also has a lot of these small intricacies down, where on the rest punish, does a dash back and dash forward.
Yeah.
It might look like it's just a fancy movement, but it's not. It's to mix up whether or not he's going to land on the other side with the down air. So it's a DI mix-up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Bobby's such an explosive player. So fun to watch.
And of course, we're talking about Bobby so far, but that is because the box is such a staple.
A mainstay.
A mainstay on big stages like this that we kind of know the picture of what Hungrybox is to do. Hungrybox plays like a great grappler in an FGC game would, right? Slowly wears down the opponent, and if that doesn't work out, or if an opportunity is presented, HBox will get that huge punish. And in this case, gets the drill to throw off stage, and the edge guard continues.
Very smart. Dash attack.
It lingers for a long time over the ledge.
Yeah. And this is why this is such a hard matchup too, as Falco, especially against Puff, right? Just so scary when you are off stage versus this character. And if you are getting off stage in these situations, it can feel like you're just fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
Even if you're at low percent.
That is what it felt like to me in that game, Bobby really didn't super get started. Now, one thing I noticed about Bobby, although the play style is balls to the wall, in between games in particular, Bobby is good about changing the way that he goes balls to the walls, and also sometimes slows down a great deal. After playing so many matches against Jerry, a Puff player from MDVA, previous Puff player, learned a lot about this matchup and knows a few different ways to play it.
Yeah. And, you know, we were talking about reaction tech chase rest from Puff earlier. Obviously a kind of hot topic.
It is,
players like CPU Zero and things like that, kind of teaching HBox a bit at the latest summit. What I've noticed is that Bobby, the last 2 times that he's been up thrown onto a platform, has teched in. HBox was a little slow on it. I'm curious if it happens 3 times.
It may have even been preparation. Like maybe Bobby was watching old sets or even HBox's stream and noting that that is the option that HBox has trouble covering.
It's also so often I think that people do tech away, right? Because it's hardest. It's the furthest away. And it's more of an execution test than Puff then. You have to full hop. You can't short hop. If you short hop, you're not able to make it. So it'll be interesting to see if HBox looks like he's trying to go for them, but it'll be interesting to see if he's kind of starting to also go into some of these reads and say, okay, Bobby seems to be teching in on platforms. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, that is something where Hungrybox super excels, is noting in 2 different ways, 2 different layers of reads does HBox make. Actually, I'm going to say 3. One is on the current state of the metagame. What are people prioritizing? And, that can be things like, do people prefer going to the ledge? Do they prefer, rolling away on platforms? There's reads against the player's decision-making, which is things like he's teching away every time.
Yeah.
And then there's also reads on the player's emotional state. HBox is a master of all 3.
Speaking of reads, Bobby just kind of out of nowhere throwing out an up air.
Yep.
Does it. Does the thing.
That has been a popular escape option for Bobby so far, going up and side being to edge cancel on the top flat.
Really scary, by the way. We saw Toussaint punish it last set. A forward smash on shield, right?
It can be punished with rest, we found out.
Exactly. Oh, what a great combo there from Bobby.
Yeah, and that is the way you combo versus Puff, downer after down air, because the first one pops him up, the next one sends him down, and Puff's rolls are really, really bad, so it's not that difficult to tech chase after either. And you can make sort of a either cover tech in place or react to the rolls away with down air very often. So you're sort of a 50-50 as opposed to a 1/3 guess.
Bobby doing a lot better job this game, I feel like, of just kind of using these platforms to kind of create these aerial walls. Very similar to what Puff tries to do with back air, right? But instead doing it with down air, making these kind of vertical walls.
And this is something that's spooky for HBox, and I think that making him consider, make his decision-making more difficult is really good. He got hit by a back air while sitting, shielding on the side flat, and was able to slide off Shine and almost get a kill off of it.
Great presence of mind from Bobby there. Edge canceled the side B and then just shielded, right? I think a lot of times people go for aerials, things like that, but he kind of recognizes that, you know, HBox might be ready for this. I need to keep myself defensive.
And, you know, we're back to 2 stocks apiece, and this is one of those percent is not a lead versus HBox, right?
Yep.
The back air doesn't quite close it out. If they were on the other side of the stage, it would have for sure.
Bobby, really important.
And
do not take too much percent here and get the kill.
He's threatening these jabs, which is nice. It's making HBox want to retreat up to the plats. Maybe that's forward smash to read a roll through or something. I'm not totally clear on that because it can't be a backer in that direction either.
Really interesting. Just Bobby not been able to find this last hit on HBox's stock.
There it is.
Finally, he's able to get it.
I think he did a nice
bit deeper.
I think that what you said about not taking percent, obviously it's what you want to do, but I think Bobby had it very much in his head because he was playing around HBox so
Absolutely.
well. How big
This
can the
could
punish
be a huge rest punish. It just depends what Bobby can do. He starts it off really well, but drops it and techs away this time, right?
Yeah, that
we
time
were talking about it, but it just gets hit by a wall. And that felt like a winnable game just kind of melted away there at the end.
That's the downside of tech away. It looked like Puff is probably too slow to even have a real follow-up in that position, but you're closer to the edge of the stage, and that is a place where Falco does not want to be.
Even if there's not a follow-up, right? You're in a situation where now Puff is in center stage, you're in the corner, how do you get out?
Yeah, and I mean, really, it was pushed off into immediate edge guard, and that was the end of the game. Now, Bobby has been close the past couple of games, just not quite there. Didn't quite have it.
Yeah. Looks like we're going to be going to Yoshi's story. Oh, that was almost a disastrous start for Bobby. Thankfully, Randall was there.
And then still had to get Randall again. It's been actually a lot of percent, and the stock still ends because of it. Hungrybox taking great advantage of getting a jump read out there and then closing the stock.
Oh, that's a scary up air there. Could have led to a lot more than what it did.
Yeah, I think HBox playing.
Oh my God, Bobby.
I think HBox's movement especially good right now, even more than usual. I saw a circle jump a moment ago, which is not something we always see in that particular spot.
Ready for the techs, reversing hits the right way. Nice job by HBox. Oh, and that was the tech in. This time, it felt like HBox just kind of said, I think you're going to tech in, and went for it, right?
Yeah, and that's the problem. Sometimes when you get a read, it's more difficult to get the timing right.
Oh, caught the side B randomly, and that's just his stock melted. Bobby with a deep breath.
Yeah.
Not out of reach totally, but it's going to be hard if Bobby's not fully focused.
I mean, this is the stage for it. You're going to need some of those off-the-top kills, but he hasn't gotten any, and HBox has been punishing really hard.
Yeah. Good job to stay alive with the slide off, but this is really scary here. The more percent gets racked up, the harder this becomes.
Yeah,
Falco gets so high with that full hop, man.
I'm holding my breath seeing how Bobby is going to try to close the gap, but these shines just haven't been hitting. He's missed a couple of these off-the-top kills.
Hasn't found the kills off the top, which is really huge, especially on this stage, right? Ooh, the little scar jump turnaround lasers. What a nice little mix-up. Looks great. Unfortunately, doesn't lead to much.
The second close 3-0 that we've had.
Yeah.
It felt like Bobby had a real fighting chance, but again, Hungrybox just looked really strong. I think even for Hungrybox standards, looked especially strong. He's going to be one to watch out for in this tournament.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about Top 96 is you can get a very early indicator of how the top 8 maybe is going to shape out. And this is one of the tournaments where I think Hungrybox is a special threat.
Absolutely.
So, sometimes you can tell the day before, like, especially with these players you see so often, like, oh, Hungrybox is playing well, he'll probably get top 5, but I don't know if he's a contender for first today or whatever. Today in Apex 2022, I think he's a contender for this tournament. That was really good.
He's been playing well, and it hasn't felt like HBox has needed to reach down deep, you know? Hasn't needed to find that thing within himself.
It hasn't been that tested, I guess, even, Some of the games were close, but really was able to get the reads, the punishes.
That was just a beautiful combo by Bobby, though. Now, I noticed something when the end of that last game happened. I saw 2 players walking in. I saw Amsa and J-Flex.
Amsa J-Flex.
And if any of you are, paying attention to the Melee stats, Twitter updates about, major upsets and things like that, they had a set this week at Nightclub that was a very tense, close Game 5.
And New York was very excited about it.
New York, Tri-State, everyone.